Okay, go.
What does identity mean to you?
If I know, what? Kind of an abstract question, isn't it?
A little bit.
What defines you, Jalen? How bad you smell all the time?
I smell lovely.
You can't smell, you don't know.
I
You
can't
could smell terrible and you'd never know.
I assume you'd tell me if I smelled bad.
I would tell you. I don't think you ever smell bad, I was kidding. I'd be like, hey, we're having such a good time, let's take a shower.
I think there's this big thing in the queer community where that's an identifier for you.
Being queer?
Being queer.
In an ideal world, it wouldn't be an identifier, but I think right now, because for a long time it has been a bad thing, that it should be an identifier because it should be a source of pride.
For the longest time, when I first was coming to terms with my sexuality, I identified as homosexual because I was romantically attracted to men. And I didn't actually want to have sex with them. But at first, I didn't know what asexuality was. I didn't know asexuality was a thing until like midway through college. So I was like, all right, I'm homo-romantic and I'm homo. Well, I didn't even know romantic was a thing.
I like to kiss them. I don't want to touch their penis.
Well, that wasn't even the thing. I was like, I'm homosexual. I'm sexually attracted to men. And as I grew older, I was just like, I'm romantically attracted to men. Like the more I went on dates, the more outings I went, just the very much I was like, this is weird, because when I was younger, I never felt sexually attracted. I was never interested in anyone. All through elementary school, not interested in anybody. Middle school, nobody. High school is when I came to terms with myself, but even then it wasn't until like junior year where I actually came to like I was like, oh, I'm attracted to people of this sex. Like for me, there was no like connection. Like people were dating, people were going out, and I'm over here just like, what to read next? Like no interest at all in all that stuff. So like when I was in college and I started going out to bars and clubs, that's when I really noticed like, oh, this is the queer community. I was like, maybe I'm just more introverted than the majority of these people. For the longest time I was just very confused with my identity. I was like, am I homosexual? Like I like men romantically, but I don't want to have sex with anyone in particular. Like I don't mind doing things, but I'm not like aroused.
You're not driven for it.
Yeah, driven for it too. And when I figured out the term asexual, that just blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, there's all these things that I hadn't realized, and like it finally made sense. And for a while I was kind of nervous to like change that. I would never like talk about my asexuality, and it wasn't until I really came to terms with like, hey, this is who I am and I should be comfortable with who I am, that I actually started to like claim the identity. At first I didn't want it to be like my identifier, like that's Jalen, he's the asexual. Because a lot of people, I feel like when they say they're asexual, there's definitely a lot of people who fight you on it. It's a different ground compared to like homosexual. Like you're asexual but you like men, no, you're still gay. So that was something that I was afraid that I would have to like fight and argue with. And eventually I got to the point where like I don't have to feel the need to justify my identity to anybody, so I just didn't talk about it. Like if people assumed I was homosexual, sure, I would correct them when it got down to it, but at the same time I never felt the big urge to be like, hey, I'm asexual. But now as I'm older and I'm realizing just how little of the asexual community is actually acknowledged and represented in the world, I want that to, in a way, be my identifier, that people like, oh, that's Jan Rocha, he's asexual, but I don't want that to be everything I'm known for. I don't feel like anyone should only let one thing be their whole identifier. There's so many things you can be known for.
Like you don't want to be the blank guy.
Yeah, the blank guy. Like if you're just that guy, like I feel like that's really bland. There's so much, because people are so interesting and so diverse, and there's so much that make up people. Like there's your interests, your hobbies, your talents, your family, who you are, who you hang out with. Like all those are different things you identify with. And I think when you limit yourself to one box and one idea, that kind of, a part of you can maybe think that there is this certain image you have to represent at all times. My mom always told me that even if you do identify this as now, you may not identify it as later. You should be open for change, and you should not feel too pressured to be stuck into one box. I think people like to categorize things a whole lot, but I think the problem with people is you can't really do that to them. They can't really be simplified in such a certain way, because there's so many different facets of our personality and just who we are that there's not one word. Well, thank you so much for watching this episode of Asexual's Almanac. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you all so much. You'll have a lovely night.